It's 12:14, breaking news. If you are going to be heading out southwest on I-71, take a note. A part of I-71 is shut down because of what law enforcement is calling a critical incident. Police in Clinton County, the sheriff's office there, they've exchanged some gunfire with a man who reportedly tried to get inside of the FBI Cincinnati field office and led police on a chase. What we have here is a live look for you now. You can see how deserted that area is. This is just northwest of Wilmington. We were on the phone with the FBI spokesperson about 10 minutes ago, and he tells us there is no concern with the Columbus field office at this time. 10 TV's Lacey Crisp is headed to the scene, and she'll have an update on later editions of our news and, of course, on that 10 TV News app. And she'll be live tonight at 5 o'clock.
Welcome back now. As we've reported, the situation along I-71 in Clinton County started at the FBI field office here in Cincinnati. Investigative reporter Craig Cheatham is live there right now. Craig, what can you tell us?
Kristen, the Cincinnati FBI office is just off a very busy shopping district here near Montgomery Road. It's about 10 miles from downtown Cincinnati. And the FBI says around 9:15 this morning that an armed individual tried to breach the visitor screening facility right there. We had evidence collection professionals out here for quite a while this morning collecting evidence. They were looking at the right side of that door that leads into that facility. That attempted breach activated an alarm, and armed FBI special agents responded. According to the FBI, the person fled, jumped into a car, drove northbound onto I-71, headed to Wilmington in Clinton County, and that's where the situation is right now. We've got crew out there covering that part of it as well. As soon as we find out more information here at the Cincinnati FBI office, we'll give that to you. Live in Cincinnati, Craig Cheatham, WCPO 9 News.
There's also breaking news out of Ohio. Police are in a standoff situation with a man they believe tried to breach an FBI office in Cincinnati this morning. The feds say a man tried to get into the visitor screening area, fired a nail gun, and then held up an assault rifle before running off. The motive here unknown, but this incident comes as threats are increasing against federal agents in the days following that raid on the former President Donald Trump's Florida home. This is still an active scene. We will keep you posted on this as it develops.
The FBI in the news for another reason today. We just heard from Mr. Weinstein. This is a live look at Cincinnati, courtesy of EarthCam, where an armed man in body armor tried breaching a security screening area at an FBI field office. An hours-long standoff with that suspect ended just moments ago. Ohio State Highway Patrol saying after the suspect was confronted by FBI agents, police chased him onto Interstate 71, where he then shot at troopers several times. Once the chase ended, law enforcement and the suspect exchanged gunfire. News Nation's Kelly Meyer joins us live. So, Kelly, this standoff, again, just ending a short time ago.
That's right, Nicole. And FBI offices across the country on high alert today. Authorities say an armed man wearing body armor tried to break into an FBI field office in Cincinnati, Ohio, exchanging gunfire with law enforcement. That standoff, as you said, just ending. And it all started around 9 a.m. this morning. The suspect fleeing the area after attempting to break into the FBI office, leading to a police pursuit, with the suspect firing shots while fleeing. Police were able to contain the suspect in a mile radius where the standoff was ongoing for much of the day.
This morning, male subject attempted to gain entry into the FBI field office in Cincinnati. He was armed. He was unsuccessful and he fled that area. The FBI then contacted us, let us know what had occurred.
No officers were injured during the exchange of gunfire, and we know few details about who the suspect is and what his motive was. Police say the suspect was injured. We're hoping to hear from officials soon for the status of the situation. We'll keep you aware of the latest here, Nicole.
All right, Kelly Meyer live for us. Thank you. Now, again, police saying that standoff has ended just moments ago. Our News Nation teams have been there the entire time, and Riley Phillips with our News Nation affiliate WDTN in Cincinnati is on the ground with that perspective.
Yes, we also just learned that the Clinton County Emergency Management Agency posted on their Facebook saying law enforcement response has ended. We have not heard anything new from OSP yet, but earlier they did say that they had the suspect contained to an area. Now, that man, they believe, tried to breach the visitor screening facility at the FBI field office in Kenwood. He was reportedly armed. He was not able to get into the building. He ran from federal agents. He led them on a car chase that shut down Interstate 71 for hours, shut down State Route 73 for hours. We do know that shots were fired during that chase, and we also know that he got off the interstate and eventually stopped and also fired shots at law enforcement. We do not know the condition of the suspect. We're still waiting to learn that. We're also still waiting to learn who this man is. We're hoping to hear from Ohio State Highway Patrol soon. I'm in Clinton County, Riley Phillips.
All right, Riley, thank you for that. Well, joining us now to dig into this a bit more, former FBI agent Stuart Kaplan. Stuart, thank you so much for being with us.
Good evening.
Well, you know, very scary situation there. Walk us through what that conversation would have been like between law enforcement and the suspect. I mean, this standoff lasted for hours.
Well, thank God that the FBI has shored up in the last 10 years their field offices with respect to basically preventing anybody who does not have a legitimate purpose or access to come into those buildings without a key card, without properly identifying themselves. It used to be where you could just open up the door and gain access into the lobby. They have now realized to kind of create a secondary barrier. Thank God this could have ended up, terrible for anybody who would have been inside that lobby. And of course, once that incident would have escalated inside a lobby, who knows how it would have ended. So, my hat's off again to the men and women, and certainly to the FBI police. The FBI, like Secret Service, has a uniform law enforcement side to them. And thank God they were paying attention. They were very astute and really tried to neutralize this threat as quickly as possible. It could have ended up really tragically.
Well, Stuart, I've been inside an FBI field office. Walk our viewers through what it's like to get inside now, because you said that they have recently shored up security there.
Yeah, so, listen, without, divulging too much information, and hopefully your viewers will understand, it used to be where, the FBI office was basically like the post office. It was open to the general public. And of course, there were barriers in place where you would then be properly screened to announce what your business is. And then, of course, a phone call would be made to that individual who you may have an appointment with. And then after clearing a magnetometer and x-ray, you would then have an escort to bring you into wherever you needed to go. In the last 10 years, and I would say probably maybe a little bit longer, with some incidents in the escalation of domestic terrorism, the FBI finally made a decision, and rightfully so, that we are going to restrict all public access onto our property. Basically, you are going to have to announce yourself, identify yourself prior to gaining any entry. And so kind of analogous to where we can get onto the airport property, into the airport terminal. But once we get into that secured area, we're going to have to clear a magnetometer. That was consistent many years ago where how the FBI was generally set up. We've now decided at the curb, now curbside, analogous to an airport, once you get to the curbside, that's where security screening is going to start and begin right there.
Well, Stuart, you mentioned the domestic terrorism, increased threat of that. We just heard from a former federal prosecutor. He alluded to this new warning from officials. They were saying that there was this increased threat against federal agents. There was also this recent raid on the former president's home. Is there a direct correlation there?
Yeah, no doubt about it. Look, I have reported it, and I'm saddened by what has played out this week. Look, back in May of 2017, when then director James Comey was fired, it left a trail of irreparable harm to the men and women of the FBI, where their integrity, the trustworthiness of the FBI was being called into question. We realized that it was going to take years, if not decades, to repair that. And now you have a situation on Tuesday where all of a sudden this search warrant comes out of nowhere. And I think it's kind of like, taking a hand grenade, pulling the pin and throwing it into an occupied room, understanding that there's going to be collateral damage. Look, the United States has never been more divided than we are now. And then you light this fuse or pull this pin out of this hand grenade, it only exacerbates what we're already suffering from. We're all suffering from, you know, the United States being anything but united.
Right.
And I'm a little, you know, saddened. And I think that, you know, while I appreciate the Attorney General coming forward today, I do believe it's a little too late with respect to his remarks. It should have been something that should have been done at the onset, if not before the execution of the search warrant.
Yeah, and we certainly, of course, want to keep all of our law enforcement safe. Stuart Kaplan, thank you so much for your time, former FBI
Always
agent.
my pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you for watching. Go to newsnationnow.com to find News Nation on your television provider. And don't forget to click the red subscribe button below to get more of News Nation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.
It's a hot topic over at Fox.
Newsweek reported that they had a mole inside Mar-a-Lago, which doesn't surprise me. Remember, they put moles in the campaign, put moles all over the place.
I think it was a Secret Service agent. I think it's someone in the president's detail under Garland's watch. The DOJ resembles the Gestapo.
So, this is television. Make sure you watch very closely as I eye roll that, because that's all it deserves. You'll note the banner on Fox yesterday there was also DOJ silent. They were complaining the DOJ was silent yesterday. You can watch tonight whether they're glad that it's no longer silent. Meanwhile, Donald Trump is fundraising off this, saying he needs a donation immediately to fight the witch hunt. And there's a $100 button. In true grifter fashion, though, when you pre-check the box, it becomes, yes, a recurring $100 donation, something they got in trouble for previously. No issue. Too important not to fundraise off. We'll be right back.
Surrounded in this area in rural part of Ohio. We know that, there was a perimeter literally around him as they tried to talk to him for several hours. So what was disclosed in those conversations? Did he, reference what we are seeing on this social media account with a similar username, again, that we're still trying to confirm if that was his actual account? We know also that there in the past couple of days has been memos sent around to field offices within the FBI, making sure that security posture was up to speed in light of what has been going on, all the violent rhetoric after the search of Mar-a-Lago earlier this week. So certainly we can't put those together right now as far as a motivation as to what this person was doing, but we know that all of these sort of things are adding up, and it's a certainly frightening picture to look at.
Phil, I take it that various FBI field offices around the country have heightened their own security right now. Is that what you're hearing as well?
Yeah, and I would go beyond that. If you look at where the FBI was in the past years ago, looking at things like white supremacist movements or opposition movements, sovereign citizen movements across this country, you would have seen them in many and maybe all states across America. In the wake of the energy, the sort of polarization and the violence we've seen in this country in the past couple of years, you've got to anticipate that among the more than 50 FBI field offices in this country, virtually every single one of them, Wolf, is going to be looking at violent groups in their area of operations and ask which of these groups has individuals that will do something like this. This is not a local phenomenon. This is an American phenomenon, Wolf.
Certainly is, and we're going to watch it very, very closely. A very significant development indeed. Guys, thank you very much. And to our viewers, thanks very much for watching. I'm Wolf Blitzer in the Situation Room. Aaron Burnett out front starts right now.
Out front next, breaking news. Trump now considering challenging the Justice Department's motion to unseal the warrant used in the FBI search of Mar-a-Lago. After Attorney General Garland asked a judge tonight to make that warrant public to the American people. Plus, what do we know about the person who reportedly tipped off the FBI about more classified documents that Trump was storing at Mar-a-Lago? The man who broke that story and revealed there was a confidential tipster involved is out front tonight. And alarming details emerging about a suspect armed with an AR-15 style rifle and nail gun who tried to break into an FBI field office today. Investigators now looking into whether the suspect had ties to right-wing extremism. Let's go out front. And good evening, I'm Erin Burnett. Out front tonight, countdown. There is a deadline on the table, 3 p.m. tomorrow. That's when a judge says he needs a response from Trump to the DOJ so he can make a formal ruling on whether to make that search warrant of Mar-a-Lago public. It comes as Attorney General Merrick Garland took the extraordinary step today of speaking out. Garland breaking his silence, saying that he signed off on the warrant to search Trump's Mar-a-Lago home personally.
And Garland is doing it by the book, now formally requesting a judge to make the search warrant and supporting documents used in the search of Trump's Mar-a-Lago public.
Just now, the Justice Department has filed a motion in the Southern District of Florida to unseal a search warrant and property receipt relating to a court-approved search that the FBI conducted earlier this week. That search was of premises located in Florida belonging to the former president. The department did not make any public statements on the day of the search. The former president publicly confirmed the search that evening, as is his right. Copies of both the warrant and the FBI property receipt were provided on the day of the search to the former president's counsel, who was on site during the search. The search warrant was authorized by a federal court upon the required finding of probable cause. The property receipt is a document that federal law requires law enforcement agents to leave with the property owner. The department filed the motion to make public the warrant and receipt in light of the former president's public confirmation of the search, the surrounding circumstances, and the substantial public interest in this matter. Faithful adherence to the rule of law is the bedrock principle of the Justice Department and of our democracy.